All right, let's get this show on the road.
There's
Hello,
a
everybody.
yes, hello everybody. There's a slightly out of focus logo there, but lovely to have you all here for Torn Tuesday. This is the OneRing.net, bringing you a live stream as we always do at 5 o'clock every Tuesday. I am graced, as always, graced by the intelligence and the presence and the rather dynamic quality of him being the Siskel to my Ebert. That over there is Justin Sewell. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Clifford Broadway, also known as Quick Beam, longtime contributor and writer and editor at theonering.net. Here we are with lots more news, lots more mischief, as fans are starting to look at The Rings of Power Season 2, all the news, all the scoops that are coming down the pipeline. Big tip of the hat to Fellowship of Fans for all these interesting things that they're showing us, and also the ongoing fourth week of the Writers Guild of America strike. My goodness, Justin, what a show we have in store for everyone.
Well, we always have a good conversation, and if you're graced
Indeed.
by my presence, I'm
Indeed.
Fred with yours.
Oh, okay. That's lovely. You want to be all right, if you're going to be the Fred, can I be the Barney? I mean, can we do it that way,
Wait,
right?
did Grace Kelly and Fred Astaire? That was the
Oh, see,
joke.
oh,
Oh,
I was trying to take it.
jeez.
I was trying to take it somewhere else entirely.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay,
You know
yeah,
what?
yeah.
You
You
know what?
take it to the Dino age.
You're hilarious. You know what? There's so much going on, but I am kind of like blown away by this new campaign that Prime Video has been launching, drawing attention to the music and the songs of Middle Earth that they created in season one for the Rings of Power. And we're talking about like a really interesting new digital campaign with new featured interviews with the cast of the show and interviews with Bear McCreary, the composer, and these new articles and things that are appearing in Hollywood Reporter. But you notice what I noticed, Justin? It said at the top of this new article, these new things that are showing up, it said, this is part of a paid promotion in partnership with Prime Video, which tells us that they really are cranking the Emmy Awards for your consideration energy. They are cranking the Emmy Awards bait. You know, during Oscar time, we call it Oscar bait. Like they really are tantalizing the apple in front of all the Emmy voters. And the best apple that they're holding out there in front of everyone is the music of Middle Earth and the songs. And you know what? I agree with this approach. I say if this is your marketing strategy to get the attention of Emmy voters, then why not step forward with your strongest foot, right? Put your strongest talent forward. Here we see these fascinating things with Bear McCreary, and then they're also doing overviews and interviews, overviews of the visual effects, and some exclusive interviews with production designers and the team that were working on Rings of Power season one, art department, production design, set decoration, props, costumes. Wow, they are really trying to draw attention and highlight, and I think this is appropriate, and I see the logic here. They are highlighting the strengths of their series, and that is certainly the music, the production, the costumes, the weapons, the cinematography, the look, the build of the world from this physical aspect, showing us Numenor and showing us Khazad-dûm, all these cool things. So, what do you think? This is a pretty big campaign that they've got rolling forward now, Justin. What
This
do you
is
think
a
of it?
huge ad spend. They didn't just set up a
Yeah,
website at amazon.com slash
yeah.
fyc like most companies would. They've paid Hollywood Reporter to host this whole website with all these videos and articles written by Prime. This is, and it is, you can't see it on the screen, but at the bottom there it says
Mm.
advertisement. So it is a full website advertisement. It is full on. They really want Rings of Power to be nominated for an award. They're really trying. Emmys is the make it or break it. It feels like that there were some nominations over the course of the year. Of
Yeah.
course, Golden Globes and
Yes, that's
so
right.
many union guilds nominated, but nobody won anything. But Emmys is what television matters. Television and Emmys are you either make a TV show for a huge audience and get massive ratings and massive advertisement. You make a TV show for cultural relevance. You want to get trend on Twitter every week,
Hmm.
or you make a
Yes.
show for awards. That's from the studio perspective, right? Like, what are you spending your money on? Sarah in the
They're
chat room
they
says,
are
I'm
chasing the
glad they are
prestige.
showcasing more BTS stuff. I hate to compare it to the movies, but one of my favorite things about those movies are the behind the scenes documentaries.
Hmm. Yes, I was going to say they're chasing the prestige of those awards, and I agree with that. We are desperately short on behind the scenes material for Rings of Power, don't you think?
Yes. So
So
this is the
whenever,
most content
yeah,
we've ever gotten.
whenever we
This is
get more of that, it's amazing. When we get more of the behind the scenes content that shows us what they went through, how they built it, the struggles of making it during the pandemic, all the interesting pressures and creative decisions that they had to make, that stuff is gold. We should be having a lot more of that, don't you think? I mean,
well,
yeah.
we're
Am
not we're
I?
not we're not necessarily getting that.
No, we're not.
These
But
are
I'm
all
I'm just
like
saying
3 minute videos.
that's why I'm
We
saying
are having to go back into
every little
that
bit
place
emphasizes
where as
how good
children
it
we
is.
dig into your imagination.
You can't go down to Elves R Us and get a piece of furniture or a lamp. Everything has to be built.
I mean, this is what we wanted to know from the beginning. We wanted to know that everything was built from hand, and there is no elves or us.
The set decorating department has created something like 4,000 pieces of work. They're all original, bespoke creations.
We use the Balinese carved ones on the side table.
It's been a real process of discovering all these races, what it means to create their worlds. The deeper you go, the more you understand.
The thing to try to sort out with each world was to figure out what that emotional characteristic of each culture is. Specifically for the Harfoots, it's about their sense of secrecy and the sense that they are the small people in the dangerous world. And then how do you start to represent that through their design?
Just through their
The
design.
Harfoots were some of our first characters. For us, it was really important to convey that they are nomads in this world. They don't live in little hills. They actually live in carts that move around.
Harfoots stick together to survive. We also are brilliant at hiding. What we're good at is
There he
camouflage,
is.
and you see that throughout the show.
Hey, there's Sir Lenny.
A lot of the furniture we made was collapsible, so it could fold up and go inside carts, which are all really fun challenges. And, you know, a lot of them were built out of branches and trees, so you're not using a beautifully milled, perfect piece of timber. There's a lot of organic builds there, which the team really loved. The
Yeah.
Harfoots make everything with their hands and the raw materials around them. So weaving became really the big metaphor for us in that world. We brought Mike Lillian up from the South Island. He's one of the last remaining master weavers.
Look at that. That's
He
amazing.
uses really old
It is.
French
See how much we're
basket
learning?
weaving techniques. Seriously amazing. Like grows all his own willow, soaks the willow for almost a month. Then we'd strip it and build the frames. A lot of the frames were alloy structures to keep them light and strong, and we'd create a sort of a textured overlay. The carvings and the woodwork is very detail focused.
The stuff they make is amazing. Look at the size of that. Obviously, in terms of what we look
It's
like
not
in
a
the
real
show,
carrot,
this
is
is
it?
perfect. But
That's
it's
actually
like,
a
look,
mini carrot.
It's, yeah, and look, the snail on it.
Oh, or is that a real
How
snail
cute.
that's actually embedded itself? You know it's a real snail. That's how real this has got.
That's adorable.
I love that.
Curating a team of artists.
So that's just a sample of one of the several videos. I think there's 5 videos.
Do you know what?
On
Yeah, I think those videos are so cool because it's the scarcity of that content which makes us just salivate over a 3-minute little bit of thing that we get. because we're not getting much else. So yeah, those are really fascinating glimpses behind the curtain of movie magic.
And if you and Eravandi is asking, I'm late to the show. What are we talking about? We are talking about the brand new behind the scenes for your consideration website campaign that Rings of Power has put up. It's at thehollywoodreporter.com /building middle earth, building middle earth, hollywoodreporter.com /building middle earth, and you have all of these different videos on like we just saw, and that was the length of the videos, right? So they're not complete documentaries. You're not going to get into the drama of what went down. But
I guess you could say they're stoking the thirst for a longer format documentary. You could say that.
Jimmy Mac Cliff wants to know. Jimmy wants to know, what's it a campaign for?
Well, they're trying to get Emmy Awards. And the historically, studios chase after those gold statuettes because they are peer-given awards. They are awards that the Golden Globes is one thing, but it's definitely not the same, because you are not being awarded by your peers. You are not being voted on by your fellow cinematographers. They're just a bunch of foreign entertainment reporters. So you want the real goods, you want the bragging rights for your studio, then you're going to be chasing down those Oscars. And right now, they're chasing the Primetime Emmy Awards. And they want the Emmy voters who work in production design and fabrication and art department and set decoration, props. They want all those people who are in the body of voters to say, wow, Rings of Power brought their game up to maximum level. We need to give them the award.
Emmy Awards are the Oscars of television, and it's in all categories, just like the Oscars. There's best drama, best comedy, best actor, best actress, best guest, best score, best TV movie, best miniseries, best costumes, best art, best direction. So Amazon is really wanting Emmy Awards for this. This is the most effort we've ever seen them put toward getting any award. So this is a huge effort.
They have different people involved, because the marketing effort they did for San Diego Comic-Con and all that other stuff that falls under the umbrella of pre-release marketing is very different than the style of content and the development of this stuff for getting awards consideration.
Yeah, they want awards. And
really
the awards. Here's the thing about the Emmy Awards. It's really interesting that it's kind of in a weird time of the year. The Emmy Awards are actually like in August.
True.
So whereas
because that's traditionally
all of
the network television always had their season from the fall through the end of winter. That's
right.
Why.
So all of the movie awards, the Golden Globes, the Oscars, everything is usually like at the beginning of the year, but then at the end of summer, beginning of fall is when the Emmy Awards are, and it used to be
they have a different year rotation.
Right, and it used to be TV networks scheduled all of their new premieres for the fall, coming this fall. Let's see the new season premiere this fall. It was always about this fall. So the idea was you would have the Emmy Awards just before all of the new TV shows would begin. In the era of peak TV and streaming and stuff like that, that kind of has, the value to that has gone to the wayside. So the schedule going on is the nominations are due in a couple weeks. So everybody involved with union and guilds in television creative arts are voting on who to put on the nominations. They're from the thousands and thousands of people and shows that anyone can be nominated. Those are due in a few weeks. We'll know the first week of July what the nominations are, and they're going to do a big announcement. They'll say the nominations for the 2023 Emmy Awards are, and then they'll list all the shows. So right now is when Amazon's trying to encourage people to write the Rings of Power or click the checkbox on the website. So on the first week of January, it's that we hear the Rings of Power is nominated for an award. And then the awards are given out about a month later in August. About a month and a half later. So there's about a month, about 5 weeks time for voting to happen between the nominations.
I just realized how clever it is. I mean, as a scheduled type of thing, it is so very clever because it is meant to draw maximum attention and free promotion, so to speak. It's not free anymore because of the amount of money they're spending on these campaigns, like the stuff that we're looking at now and we're showing you on the bottom screen. But having the award right before the launch of your next fall season is why the height of summer Emmy stuff is happening. Oh, Here we go. Look at this. The song tells the story. This is a remarkable package. This is a really remarkable digital video package and presentation that they've set up. And it's rare. I don't even think there was something that New Line did for Howard Shore that was as distinct as the thing that Prime Video is now doing for Bear to bring attention to Mr. McCreary, and more power to them. Like I said at the top of the show, it is abundantly clear to me that they are putting their strongest foot forward.
Oh, totally. It's just funny on one of these videos, which talks about bringing tall and small together. It's like watching. It's like watching your child make the same mistakes that you did when you were that age. Because we all watched the Lord of the Rings appendices from Peter Jackson, and we saw them struggle 20 years ago on how to do forced perspective and make Gandalf look tall and bag end and everything like that. And then we also saw the drama 10 years ago with them trying to use green screen to show the different sizes of actors. And remember, Ian McKellen did not have a good time shooting on green screen in forced perspective.
That was a really not good experience. I hate to say it, but Ian didn't. Sir Ian, he did not have a good time filming The Hobbit. He really. So
it's really fun. It's kind of actually humorous to watch this little 5-minute clip on the Hollywood Reporter website because it's like, you know, they're just talking about the same stuff. Like, how do you shoot this? It's like, well, you know, someone already knows how to shoot this.
Yeah.
like, why wouldn't you tap Weta Workshop and the guys that know how to shoot this rather than kind of learn and make the same mistakes? I don't know. Although I will say, I don't see any mistakes.
Before she leaves the chat, I want to say good night, Pipsquay. Good night and much love to you. Hope you're feeling better. Pipsquay, one of our early faithful audience members on Torn Tuesday when we started broadcasting years and years ago back on Stickcam, believe it or not. Thank you, Pipsquay, for being with us tonight. And you know what? I'm not seeing the mistakes. The only mistake I'm seeing...
Oh, the Emmy Awards is September 18th. Thank you, chat room.
And thank you, Otaku Senpai, for saying that the full nominations list will be revealed on July 12th. And that's
July 12th.
Still seems many weeks away.
Right before, but that's right before Comic-Con. And
yeah, it is.
And Comic-Con is going to be interesting because the writers are striking right now, and the actors may strike. So
that's going to make Comic-Con really weird.
If the actors strike, the only actors that would show up are the ones that want to be there on their own accord. So when the writers and the actors strike, and we'll get into that later, actually. So anyway, go to the. You guys, I see you in the chat room. You guys want to see a whole article with all the links and the videos. We'll do that. Well, I'll work on that tomorrow, put up an article with all the links and stuff because the information is really interesting. Trisha wants to know, what is Torn doing this year at SDCC? Well, we've asked to do a lot of things, and we're waiting on approval on a bunch of things. The only thing that I do know is we will have a booth.
Approvals.
And we will have a panel and maybe 2 panels. And
maybe 2.
Do we want to do a party?
That would be interesting.
Do we want to do a party? I don't know.
We should ask the fans. Are the fans willing to do some big offsite party? I wonder, can we do that?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what. Yeah, I want to get back to one last thought and put a button on it.
Sure.
No mistakes being made. Getting back to that sentence that you left hanging there. The only mistake that I see having been made is recognizing that the audience has a genuine appetite for more of the BTS stuff. And you said it yourself.
I think they
Justin.
know. Dude, I think they know. They know.
Said that
they know.
We watched all those appendices from the first trilogy.
Amazon knows.
The second trilogy.
Just they I don't
really
think
did eat that up.
I don't think they can show if I don't think they figured out how to show the BTS because they replaced a whole actor. They replaced Kelly Brimbor late in the game. They rewrote the whole show from 10 episodes down to 8, so a lot of stuff got cut. And there's a lot of look, there are a lot of unhappy people in New Zealand that bet their farm and their shop and their wood shop on 5 years of work with this show, and Amazon picked up.
Yes,
and Amazon picked up and moved to New Zealand.
Moved to the UK.
Moved to the UK, and you know that we just showed a video with like a hand weaver from the South Island that was brought on to work on the show. We keep hearing more stories every single week here at the One Ring about people in New Zealand, artisans, craftsmen who have closed up shop and went bankrupt because they moved. Amazon asked them to move their operations to close to Auckland so they could service the show. Yes. And so that everyone took, and Amazon did not pay any moving costs, and Amazon did not pay any hold costs when the pandemic happened and everybody was locked down for 3 months. So Amazon didn't give any accommodations to lockdown, and Amazon didn't pay for any moving costs to and from Auckland. So everyone made the risk. All these craftsmen like that weaver made the financial investment to move to Auckland, saying, cool, all right, I'm going to work on season 1, season 2, season 3, and then we'll see from there. But by moving to the UK, Amazon pulled the plug on everybody's future work, and a lot of people are now out of business because of it. So, like, I think there's a lot of weird bad blood. So how do you show, how would you do a documentary with all of these wonderful New Zealand craftspeople that are unhappy with your show and probably don't want to be featured in the documentaries? It was very weird to me to hear that Kiwi accent in that video that we just heard. It's kind of weird to hear a Kiwi accent talk about a workshop but not have the word Weta in front of it. I wanted to hear we want to hear the folks at Weta Workshop. We're here in the Weta Workshop. We're here in the workshop with a Kiwi accent. And that woman that was featured in that video that we just watched is no longer on the show. So
if they ever decide to make commercially available a spinning disc, physical Blu-ray or physical 4K discs of their season 1, I'm guaranteeing you that they should have had the foresight to bring in somebody like Michael Pellerin and their multimedia productions.
They had a whole team. We have photos and videos of all of these huge cameras on,
and we're getting small samples
the set.
And
they had 3 cameras in the room for the first script reading, where there were 25 people around the table doing the first script read through. So they had multiple cameras on us in London. So there's a ton of footage that they're just sitting on because they're not doing it.
Intrigued. File that under intriguing.
Hey, Cliff, what do you think of this for a T-shirt for Comic-Con? I want to ask the chat room.
Oh, God, no. No.
Guys, do you like this for merch? No?
Because it reminds me of one of the silly things from the script that I don't care for. Why don't you show me a T-shirt design that is like, oh, okay. My God, show me a T-shirt design that celebrates something I really enjoyed from the show, like Khazad-dûm. Keith says it's the worst line in the season.
Well,
almost as bad as the sea is always right.
well, the green dragon gossip is the showrunners are very proud of this line. The showrunners are very proud of this dialogue, and the entire series and the entire arc of Sauron starts with this line and the raft.
There are people in the chat who don't know what this refers to. They don't know what the emojis refer to.
A stone sinks and a sailboat looks to the sky.
Something about the reason why a stone falls and sinks is because it looks down to the darkness, and the reason why a boat floats is because it looks up to the light. Something like that.
It's something like that. It's so memorable that none of us can remember how it's said. Whereas every memorable line in Peter Jackson's movies is
so funny.
Well,
you are so funny.
Here's the thing.
Is so funny.
But the Green Dragon gossip is the showrunners are very, very proud of this line and this concept, and you guys better get used to it, and you better start learning to love it, because everything is based on this. Galadriel's whole arc starts with this line and this raft and her first failure.
So she has to sink, and because she's looking at darkness, and then she has to look at light so she can float again. I mean, look, the concept. I'll agree with you on that, Garf. Garf is in the chat with us. One of our
what did she say?
One of our hardworking staff members is in the YouTube chat, and she says the concept of the line is good, but bad line and delivery. Okay, so let's go with that. I like the poetic idea of engaging with darkness being bad and engaging with the light being uplifting and good. I kind of get that. But the extension and the oversimplicity of this metaphor doesn't work for me, and it doesn't feel very Tolkien-ish.
And
that's just
this
one man's opinion here. Just one.
And this is why we want to highlight every week that this is going on about the writer's strike, and we want to highlight why they're striking, because you don't get people in the chat room are justly saying that the line delivery is not great, and because the line delivery is not great, the message that they're trying to convey gets muddied. This is why you have writers on set. This is why you have writers' rooms that are fully staffed and not a mini room. This is why you don't have a mini room that is like 5 weeks worth of work and then you tell them to go away. You have a fully staffed writers' room of 3 tiers of writers, as we explained on the show. They're employed for 20 to 30 weeks. You have senior writers on set for every take, at least one writer reviewing it with the director. So if the line delivery is weird, the writer says, you know what?
Let me write something else.
That line isn't working. You know what? The writer admits fallibility and says, you know what? This line is confusing. It's not working. The actor isn't getting it. So let me rewrite something. But this is why not having writers on set like Rings of Power did was the biggest failure of the show. And this is why a lot of this stuff is confusing, is because there just wasn't writers there thinking about the writing. And the showrunners, yes, they're writers, but they're showrunning. They've got a lot of other decisions to make. So
I appreciate what Katie says in the chat. Again, like last week, I want to know the writer's original concept and their vision and where the disconnects are. Great. Well, if they weren't striking, we could invite them on the show and interview them, and I'd love to ask them exactly that.
Look.
I would.
The thing with any work, any creative work, whether it's writing scripts or making a painting or whatever, is the more time you put into it, the better it gets, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Art is always abandoned. But so by having an artificial limit that was not part of regular union deals, by having this artificial limit of a writer's time is limited, you don't have enough time to finish all 8 scripts and then go to the first reading and then go to set and say, you know what, this whole concept isn't working. Let me spend the weekend regrouping with the writers and banging out an updated script before we tear down the set, so we can get those actors saying a new type of dialogue. And
can I let you in? Can I let you in on a little secret that I saw when The Lord of the Rings originally was being filmed, and I was embedded as a spy on set, watching a giant puppetronic Treebeard that was created 1-to-1 scale for Meriadoc and Peregrine. So there was Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan, and they were inside this studio clamoring on top of this huge Treebeard mechanism. A dozen puppeteers from Weta Workshop were there trying to move its arms, and they were in the safety straps, they were in safety harnesses, and they were in this crazy thing that was being lumbered and moved around, and they were desperately trying to get some of their dialogue right. Who was right there? Who was right there behind the camera, working her ass off, doing rewrites of the dialogue? It was Philippa. I was there myself. I was on the set, and Philippa was diligently trying to figure out how to rewrite things that could be more suitable for hobbits that are in the giant tree ant creature, and they're being tousled around, and they're out of breath, and they don't know how to even, so they really did have to do rewrites just in that moment because of extenuating circumstances they didn't know were going to happen until the time they put the actors in the harnesses and chucked them up on this giant animatronic. And then they realized, oh, this isn't exactly the way these lines are going to be delivered. It's not going to work. So she was there to rewrite.
It's not going to work. Yeah,
exactly.
And look,
I saw her doing it firsthand.
That's what a normal production does, whether it's movies or TV. And again, what is the number one issue with The Hobbit after you watch the documentaries? It is Peter, Philippa, and Fran just didn't have enough time to write and rewrite and rewrite.
That's
so
right. Exactly.
Amazon
that
had
does come across very clear. Yes.
Amazon had all the time and all the budget in the world to keep the writers employed, and instead of keeping them employed, they put together a writer's room. If you want top tier award-winning dialogue like Succession, you have to treat the writer's room like Succession does. Succession has a fully staffed writer's room, and the writers were on set during filming. So everyone that talks about Succession as it trends every Sunday and Monday, some of the best writing on television, even though you don't like any of the characters. By the way, we're not supposed to like Sauron either, so there's some comparisons to be made there. But Succession is being successful and was going to win a bunch of awards because Succession has a fully staffed writer's room for 6 or more months of the year, and the writers were on set to rewrite stuff as the delivery wasn't up to snuff. So
and that's the way it's normally done. So, again, we're just emphasizing the point we made last week that Rings of Power Season 1 was under extenuating circumstances for a huge worldwide pandemic, obviously, but they were also not staffing the writers the way that it is traditionally done on other shows, and that's just, there's no two ways about it.
We've reported on this for the last 2 years. 2 years ago, we reported that all the scripts for season 2 were
written at that time.
Were written before were written with season 1. So in fact, some of the scripts from season 1 got pushed to season 2. So season 1 and season 2 are a complete statement, are a complete thought. If you're expecting better writing or better storytelling for season 2, I don't know what to tell you, because it's the same. It's written at the same time, with the same circumstances, with the same limited budget, with the same minimal mini writer's room. The only improvement that we've heard so far are the writers like Jennifer Hutchinson was allowed on set for season 2 in the UK. So that is the one improvement. But the scripts were still written way before season 1 even came out.
That is an improvement.
Wheatbix wants to know, were they written as a 10-episode season 2? No. As far as we know, season 1...
That's a good question. That's a good question. But how
season 1 was originally 10 episodes.
Yes.
Amazon then ordered 8 because and by the way, 8 is the minimum contractual obligation. Amazon cannot do 7 episodes of anything Lord of the Rings. They have to do a minimum of 8. So it was basically the minimum contractual obligation is 8 episodes. So when Amazon Studios said, "Hey showrunners, hey writers, hey we got to bump it 2 episodes." So 2 of the 10 got pushed to season 2, and then they formed another mini room because they said, "Oh, it's only 6 episodes, so it's not as much work."
Indeed. And one of the episodes felt like it stretched on into the next one. As you know, they did have. I sense that 8 episode structure really did change some things.
Shout out to Matt Nerd of the Rings in the chat room. This was his idea, by the way, for a T-shirt. But I'm glad it started this conversation because I honestly had no idea that the fans in the chat room were confused about that line as much as I was. I really thought a lot of people, maybe I follow too many Haladriels, but I really feel I thought a lot more fans were all on board with this, and based on the chat room response, stone sinks, ships float is not a winning formula. But and so because the line doesn't work, Matt, if you're watching, the shirt doesn't work. But it was a great idea, Matt.
It is a very funny idea, but it's a little bit obtuse, a little bit. But it's also just a constant reminder of how goofy that dialogue bit was. It's really funny though.
By the way, tune into Matt's channel on YouTube tomorrow. He's revealing a whole lot of playthrough of the Gollum game. I'm really excited to watch this and see what this game is looking like and playing like, because I just finished Jedi Survivor, so I'm ready.
Ooh.
I've got time on my hands and I'm ready to jump into another long form high-end video game, so I'm looking forward to that video from Matt tomorrow. Now, Cliff, we just mentioned
cool.
Jennifer Hutchinson was on set for season 2, and she's the only out of all of the women writers on Rings of Power, she's the only woman credited with an episode on season 1.
Right, that's true.
She was tasked. Jennifer Hutchinson was tasked with writing Sauron and Galadriel's meetup and breakup. She wrote episode 2, where Sauron and Galadriel meet, and she wrote episode 8, I believe, where Sauron and Galadriel break up. Why would they task her with writing it? Because Jennifer Hutchinson, Jennifer Hutchinson worked on Better Call Saul, which and she really was responsible for the relationship between Kim and Jimmy. And if you watch Better Call Saul, that's the main character, Saul Goodman. Before he becomes Saul Goodman, hooks up with another lawyer, and it's a very toxic relationship. So basically, Jennifer had just written an Emmy-winning show
about a really toxic relationship.
About two people that should not be together, and they're very bad for each other. Even though they seem to have fun together, they are very bad for each other. So on paper, that makes sense. You want to hire that writer to do Sauron and Galadriel. If that's what you're going to do, you might as well get the best to do it. Well, Cliff, here is a post from Jennifer Hutchinson
Oh, yes.
Over on Instagram, she is currently striking. She's out there in front of the studio gates striking. Cliff.
That is impressive, and I'm glad she's there, marching in solidarity with her fellow writers. That's good. That's
the interesting
super good.
And let's just put into focus again. The writers are striking because of poor working conditions. And what is the show that the writers of Rings of Power have been working on for the last 5 years exclusively? Rings of Power. They are striking Rings of Power. Rings of Power is not the only bad player in town, but the Rings of Power production is a symptom of the bad deal that writers have been getting with mini rooms, limited employment, not invited to set, all of the reasons that they're striking. So here you are.
You could say it is emblematic of the reasons why they are striking. The conditions that Jennifer and Helen and the other writers, Mr. Cogman, those writers are on strike now because of, and expressly striking against these kinds of conditions that they experienced to the letter on season 1 of Rings of Power.
By the way, now, you know how we keep complaining about mystery boxes, Cliff, and we don't want anything about mystery boxes?
My favorite complaint, because, I'm still trying to count on one finger how many mystery boxes J.R.R. Tolkien gave me, and I can't even count.
Can't even, there aren't enough stubby toes for that. Here's another post from...
really? Okay, I really love Jennifer's picket sign for the strike. That's really great.
Let me see if I... come on. Why isn't this bringing it up?
Oh, Strider? Okay. Was Strider a mystery box? Maybe Strider was the mystery box until maybe for half a chapter? Maybe until he actually pulled the hilt of the broken sword out of his scabbard and swore an oath of protection, and they were still in the Prancing Pony when that happened. In Peter Jackson's version, it was revealed during the Council of Elrond. It was the only time that Frodo realized the mystery of who Strider really was. Well, Peter Jackson had that mystery revealed for Frodo's character during the Council, but in the book, it happens while they're still in Bree and they're still at the inn of the Prancing Pony.
Well, here's another post. Jennifer deleted this tweet, but she says, I think another reason I like Poker Face, another show that's on NBC streaming, is because it's not a mystery show. We know who did it. It's a character study and how she's going to put it together. So one of the biggest complaints of Rings of Power was the unnecessary mystery boxes, not only from you, Cliff, but from everybody, almost everybody that loves Tolkien has complained about, why did you mystery box that? And then the showrunners saying, well, no one would believe Anatar. It's like, well, yeah, they would, because that's how Tolkien wrote it. So here's Jennifer Hutchinson, kind of a shady subtweet saying, I think another reason I like Poker Face is because it's not a mystery show. We know who did it. Cliff, that's what we want out of Rings of Power. We know who did it.
Yes, exactly. And the audience gets to enjoy the dramatic irony because the characters on screen do not know how bad Anatar really is. It's certainly not Celebrimbor. He doesn't know.
The fun that we have as an audience is knowing.
We know how bad, and exactly. I've been saying this for months and months and months now. I've been saying this for so long now.
So I guess
beating the dead horse with a stick.
I guess what we're saying, what we're saying here, and Cliff, correct me if I'm wrong. That we're saying that the writing is bad in Rings of Power. It was bad for a reason. And the things that we fans don't like about the writing, the writers themselves are saying, yo, that wasn't me. Because they were kicked out. They had a mini room and then they were let go. a mini room, and let go. They weren't staffed for 6 months. They didn't have a support staff. They weren't on set to see the performances. So everything that we don't like about the writing, it's fair to say it's not the writer's fault.
That is fair to say. Yep, it is absolutely fair to say. 100%.
And
100%
tweets like this, deleted subtext shady tweets from Jennifer and Helen Chang and all the other writers who are on the picket lines. And by the way, it's not just those two. I've seen Brian Cogman out there, seen Jason Cahill.
Oh,
I've
yes,
seen,
we have. Yes,
we've seen all the other writers of Rings of Power out there striking. They are striking for a reason, and they know what we're saying about the show, and they're telling us in so many words, hey guys, hey fans, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. You just weren't given. So I'm here to complain about the writing, but I'm here to love the writers.
Yep. That's an interesting position to be in, to complain about the writing, but to love and show love and support for the writers at the same time. Yes, this is possible, and it is not an inherent contradiction in terms, because of the situation that the writers were put in, and because of those conditions, and because the writers' room wasn't fully benched with a big full-on staff. And you know, you're gonna play some of that again? I would love it if you played.
Yeah, let me bring up a clip. This is again.
Play some of that again.
David Simon created Homicide: Life on the Street, a huge TV show for NBC. The Wire. He created The Wire for HBO, and he's a showrunner and a writer.
Would pay you enough to make it plausible for you to afford a mortgage or for health insurance. Now, they'll start a mini room. They'll say, here's 3 weeks of salary. Oh, and by the way, we're not guaranteeing that you'll get a script for a script fee. Just the 3 week salary. Just come and give us your ideas. We may make the show. We may hire you. We may not hire you. And then go find another gig. Or we're not sure we're going to order the show. Let's see if we order the show. But while we're deciding, don't take another job. We have you under contract.
So let me pause there, because every interview with the showrunners and Amazon, they have repeatedly said they are committed to 5 seasons and they know the final shot of the entire series.
Yes, they do. They've said that many times.
They've said that many times.
Many times.
Oh
yes.
They've made an effort.
To the point of we're going to end up talking about this when it happens. Yes.
They've made an effort to remind us fans and everybody watching that Amazon is not Netflix. They're not here to cancel the show. And I don't think, as bad as the show is, I don't think it's getting canceled. We're going to see this story through. But the showrunners have specifically said, we know where we're going. So this is why people are striking. Because Amazon, instead of paying these writers and hiring them for a good amount of time so they can do their best work, they cheaped out with a mini room for a limited amount of weeks and then didn't bring them to set.
That's right. They cheaped out with a mini room instead of a full bench of senior writers, and then the next strata of assistant, next tier, and then all the other third tier writers. They just didn't do it that way. Oh, Lordy B. And isn't the result,
we don't need you on set. We don't need you doing any of this work. We'll get it from the showrunner. So they're down to 8-10 weeks of work. They can't make a living in a year. They're down to a gig economy. And they're also not learning all of the skill sets that are going to make them into better writers and better producers. So you're not growing the future.
So again, if you know where you're going for the final shot of the 5-season series, why wouldn't you want the writers to be the most intelligent, informed people on set? Also, you're asking too much, and we showed this video last week. You're asking too much of the showrunners. These guys are showrunning. They have decisions to make. They have 3 different directors they have to manage, or 4 different directors, or 7 different directors that they have to manage, plus all the creative decisions, plus all the business stuff. They don't have time to write. The writers are supposed to keep track of the story. And there was a
indeed.
Cliff, there was
and there's a lot of it.
There was a discussion in our Discord this morning about the rock and the boat thing. And we talked about
How did that go?
It was exactly as we just talked about, but it also brought up, we also talked about on Discord today, the introduction of Celeborn and how the writers, by introducing the mention of Celeborn in one brief sentence, throwaway line, they've kind of set themselves up for a pickle. They kind of have Galadriel in a corner now as far as writing is concerned, because does Galadriel go seek out? Does Galadriel find out that Celeborn might still be alive, and now does she go seek him out? Does she replace her unending chase of Sauron for an unending chase of her lost husband Celeborn? Does Celeborn show up and say, "Hey, why didn't you come find me?" Does Celeborn show up and say, "Hey, I left you on purpose, but I didn't have the guts to tell you"? How do they play this? Like, it kind of like messes with the setup for Galadriel's character as a strong-willed woman to like kind of not know where her husband is. I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of a writing thing. And again, if there was a writer on set and they might have figured out some of those issues.
I think that the idea of keeping Celeborn off stage for the entirety of season 1 is such a strange, interesting choice that I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. I mean,
Jimmy Mack in the chat room says the Celeborn thing was so dumb. Like, yes, it was a weird non sequitur to mention to the baby boy who hasn't had a girlfriend yet, we think. So why would she talk about relationship matters with the little boy? But then just mentioning him kind of throws everything out of whack, you know? Like, if you're gonna do Haladriel, commit to the bit. And I feel like they got cold feet. But David Simon talks a little bit about AI in this video.
So let's talk about AI real quick. I mean, obviously you're a singular writer, like people know your name and your product, but what do you see as the future of AI with the industry for writers and studios?
Well, I mean, look, anything like a thesaurus or a dictionary or a book of quotable quotes can go on a writer's shelf and be a tool. But what you're talking about here, like any of those other research bits of research material, is a derivative form. It's feeding, like you're feeding all the crap into a computer and saying, give me a generically sound cop show like every other stinking cop show done, or a medical show or law show. And that derivative work is never going to break ground. It's never going to bring new viewers to a place where they feel like they're, it's basically like buying a Xerox copy of a print and putting it on your wall. That's Starry Night, that's Guernica, but nobody's going to really look at it with the same hard look that they would give an actual painting. And so I don't mind the idea of it as a toolbox for writers, but don't have a studio telling me, look, we ran it through the algorithm and this is our favorite AI and this will make a cop show that will maximize our viewership. Because in the short term, you might fool some people into watching 10 episodes of crap, but over time, the viewership for that is going to diminish. There's always been a certain amount of derivative crap in television. There always will be. But there was also the running room to create something new. And it's only in the last 20 or 30.
So,
wow, what an intriguing and scary idea that a studio would actually come in and say, this is our favorite AI, and this is what's going to increase our viewership. Why would anybody who's a bean counter, somebody who's an executive who doesn't have anything to do with creatives, why would a bean counter in a suit, and that's why we call them with that derogatory term, studio suits. That's what we've always called them because of their disconnect with the creative people that they hire. Why would somebody, now it's always been really bad that the creatives have had studio suits get in the way of their creativity. Now the AI seems to be positioned as another really awful albatross around the neck of people who are trying to get something done as creatives, and then here comes the studio saying you're going to have to do it this way because we believe this will increase our viewership. Now,
well,
look,
Cliff,
I
let's
have a
stay
strong
on that.
opinion about this. I have a strong opinion about this. I really do.
Let's stay with your first opinion, your first topic, that you said. Why would a studio suit mandate that? Here's a quote from an article about Amazon Studios. Jeff Bezos brings the whole Amazon Studios team to Seattle and says, "I know how you do this." He reels off a list of 13 things he thinks are the foundation for any big franchise, movie, or property. A charismatic protagonist, a threatening antagonist, world building, cliffhangers, a love interest, high stakes for society. I've got the whole list in my book. And the funny thing is, the Amazon Studios executives had to go back, and when they proposed new shows, they would have to check off on this list of 13 things which things the show had and which it hadn't. And if it didn't have them, they had to explain it.
Oh, good grief.
So, Cliff, what David Simon just said, this isn't a theoretical. What David Simon just said is the issue writers are striking. And the thing that you just got mad about is exactly to the T what happened at Amazon Studios and Rings of Power. Now, Cliff, let's go through this list. Foundation for a big franchise. So, Cliff, number one.
Wow.
Does Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, have a charismatic protagonist?
A couple of them, yes. At least a couple of them.
One of the biggest complaints from a lot of reviews, soft to negative reviews of Rings of Power, is Galadriel isn't very charismatic. She's a single-minded, one-trick pony who is always angry, always stoic, and you never see any other side of Galadriel. She's not very charismatic.
Just because she's obsessively driven by, wrongthink doesn't mean she's not charismatic.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, I'll give you that. All right. So, does Rings of Power have a charismatic protagonist? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at Elendil. Look at Halbrand.
He's not a protagonist. They have nothing to do in the show.
Hold on.
You could throw away all of the Numenor. You could throw away all of Numenor, and the show would still go on.
That's fine, but Halbrand was presented as a false protagonist, and he was presented as a protagonist that we were supposed to be like, oh, we have all the feels for him because he's a protagonist, but that was all a lie.
Okay.
It was all a lie.
So you have a charismatic protagonist. Second, a threatening antagonist. Wonderful. One thing that they did get right is wonderful antagonist. Adar, amazing. Joseph Mall, you are the best. So that's
super good.
2 for
super
2.
Good.
2 for 2.
Yep.
Was there world building, Cliff?
Yes, there was
All
world
right,
building.
3.
Yes,
was there cliffhangers?
Oh yeah, look, Isildur, I'm sure, is still dead as a doornail under that burnt shack. Yes.
All right. So there were again. Jeff Bezos said you need cliffhangers, and they gave him a freaking cliffhanger with Isildur. All right, it's paint by numbers. All right, number 5, a love interest. Cliff, I know my answer.
No,
Was there a love interest in Rings of Power? Yes, it's in the list. It's in the list right here from Jeff's mouth.
Justin, they played footsie.
That's a love interest. That's a love interest.
With the love interest.
All right, number 6. Number 6.
I don't know. No. Was there any other? Oh, you mean Kemen and Elendil's daughter? Was that the only other?
And whatever. Isildur and his horse. I don't care. But there was a love interest with your main protagonist.
The most genuine love interest I saw was Prince Doran and Disa. That was the love interest I genuinely was paying attention to. Not really.
And then number 6, high stakes for society.
Oh, hold on. We forgot to mention Arondir and Bronwyn. You know what?
There you go. So, love interest.
The real love interest was Arondir and Bronwyn, and I kind of fell for it because,
I liked it. I liked it.
You can't resist Ismael Cruz Cordova. You can't resist him.
You can't
And
resist Haladriel either.
You can't. Oh, no. Come on. No.
All right, number 6, high
No.
stakes for
No.
society. Was there high stakes?
Little bit, yeah. There was a little bit of high stakes.
There was high stakes for society. And you know what? It's not, the complete list is not in this thing, but explosions were absolutely part of it. So we'll give it explosions. So 7 out of so literally Rings of Power hit the studio executive mandate. So what do you say to that, Cliff?
Gosh.
The studio exec said he knows how to do a big popular show. So what do you think, Cliff?
I think the 14th thing that he added on that list of 13 was J.J. Abrams style mystery box BS.
Yes.
I think that's the other thing. It's the 14th thing that Jeff Bezos probably put on his list. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not. Look.
Well, let's go back to David Simon.
Why would you be so reductive as to thinking that you've got the ultimate bullet point system of making a blockbuster franchise?
Look, we just showed you that Jeff had it.
Great age for television because all of a sudden the medium grew up. If you give it over to AI, you're going to infantilize it again. And that's not to say that AI can't be like a quick and dirty tool and give writers some bounce back while they're working. But if you're talking about real writing, and if you're talking about real storytelling, and if you're talking about growing the medium, and ultimately growing the audience, you're going to need human beings to say, wait, I thought of something new that I haven't seen. And, you know, that's the guts of storytelling. Again,
there you go.
Dude.
Dude. Let's talk about AI. Let's talk about how Amazon Studios is using AI. Folks, these are all real.
Let's talk about that. What's going on?
Amazon, this is from a few years ago. Amazon introduces Storyteller. It turns scripts into storyboards.
Oh, when did this news break again?
This is 10 years old. Amazon Studios has had this technology for 10 years. Amazon has a technology where you feed the PDF script in, and the AI develops storyboards. I tell you, one of the complaints that people have had with Rings of Power is it feels and looks like a lot of other generic fantasy shows. There isn't a lot of innovative filmmaking. You are not watching an Andrew Lesnie Lord of the Rings project. The shot concept and placement is a little is lacking. It's not bad. It's just basic. This could be why.
What was innovative was when the Wachowskis brought out the first Matrix movie, and everyone was like, "Holy cow, that is innovative!" That was innovation for the science fiction marketplace, right? Well, Andrew Lesnie is an excellent example. Mr. Lesnie and the work that he did with Peter Jackson was also groundbreaking and innovative for high fantasy, and it really set the standard almost impossibly high, really.
Amazon also has a patent for artificial intelligence dubbing. This is actually pretty cool. So Amazon can take your original English actor's voice and make them say the entire dialogue of the script in a foreign language. I don't know if they're doing this, and if anybody in the chat room and if anybody watching this show, you can DM us. Our DMs are open. Did Rings of Power in India, Brazil, Italy, in any of the international markets, when it came to dubbed versions of the show, did they sound like the original actors? Because Amazon has a patent on using the original actor's voice in AI to make them speak languages they don't normally speak. Durin asked, so no hiring local actors in the country. That's exactly it.
Oh, whoa, Durin, you're right. That would mean they wouldn't need to hire. Holy cow. That means they're not going to need local voiceover actors to do English language English localizations of their foreign shows. You know what that means? That means a voiceover actor like me is going to be out of a job for all those other little side shows where I'm doing English language dubs.
This is what they're striking for. Get ready to strike.
Wow.
I was going to say,
my voiceover career.
I was going to say, Jimmy Mack says it's pretty egotistical of Jeff Bezos to suppose he knows about storytelling.
It is. Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make a couple of minutes ago. Why would anybody who's a studio executive or just a CEO of a shipping company, why does the CEO of a merchandise shipping company have the wherewithal to say that he knows how to make storytelling backbone better than J.R.R. Tolkien knows how to build a backbone of a story?
Katie in the chat room says, Marcel the Tolkienist, his job is as a translator for all the local voice actors. So this puts him out of a job. Yes, it does. All right, so folks,
oh my gosh,
Amazon is using AI to replace voice actors. Amazon is using AI to build storyboards out of a script. Amazon is proud to announce AI tools are doing the visual effects. And here they have a whole use case on Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Oscar-winning Best Picture of the Year this year. Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is Amazon's own website. Amazon announces that they used AI for the visual effects in Everything Everywhere All at Once. They are using AI for the visual effects. They are using the AI for the voiceover work, voice acting work, and they're using AI for the storyboarding.
It is Terminator: Rise of the Machines. That's what's happening to us right now. It's Terminator: Rise of the Machines. Oh boy.
Cliff, and here's another thing. Hollywood is quietly using AI to help decide which movies to make, who to cast, and predict how successful it will be, and predict what shots to include in your show. They're using AI to determine what your cast should look like and what type of shots should be in the script and in the show.
This is super disturbing.
This is again, Amazon is at the forefront of the AI revolution, and I have to believe, Cliff, that one of the exciting things that Amazon proposed to these showrunners is like, hey, we know you're only two guys, and we know you've never done this in the world, but don't worry, we've got an entire world of artificial intelligence to help you, the showrunners, do your job better. Better or more efficiently. I don't know what the word is. But look at all these AI tools.
That is exactly what happened. You know what? We don't know for sure, but
these are all clear. Amazon tools.
It is clear. It is not. We don't have any exact statements that say J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay were given, and we have nothing from the studio that is able to corroborate exactly this, but we are surmising. It's an excellent connection of the dots, and it's a very easy mental connection of the dots, and you can realize quickly how likely this is that these AI tools that Prime Video has been talking about for years and years and has been reported on over and over again, it is very likely as anything that Patrick and JD were presented a whole bunch of AI tools to help with this but yeah, it is it's a $1 billion effort. And with
but Cliff, you can't blame Amazon, Cliff, for using technology. Should governments regulate this? Should the unions regulate
the pandemic? I was about to blame the pandemic for being another reason why Prime Video would say use these AI tools because of the pandemic.
But just because they have these tools doesn't mean they're always using them. If you go to if you go to ArtStation or Behance or LinkedIn, you can find a bunch of artists like this guy, Dylan Coburn, who did all of this storyboarding work for Rings of Power. So they really did hire artists. Let me see if I can bring this up. We don't need that stock music, but you look, you can see like they did hire artists. They did hire physical artists. Okay. Were those artists on set? I doubt it. I think it was all virtual. I do think a lot of pre-production stuff was done remotely and virtual. I mean, look, you can see a lot of this stuff made it to screen. Obviously, that's the introduction of Sauron in the first episode.
It did.
These are more than storyboards. These are kind of animatics. I actually like that shot better than the shot that we actually got. So obviously they're like storyboarding the nightmare. They're storyboarding. Oh, that's an interesting.
The Balrog appearing from the fallen leaf. That's weird. Oh, wow. I guess that's the destruction of the Sauron acolytes.
Yeah. So, you know what? This isn't just AI, they did hire real artists. So David Simon had a point where he said AI is a tool, and it's okay to have AI as a tool in the writer's belt and a tool in the artist's belt. It's not okay for the AI to be at the studio level replacing humans. So,
what a weird choice of beatbox music. What is this choice of music that they're making for?
Right.
Wow, that's really.
I think he's doing other stuff. Oh yeah, here's another. Here's like a direct. Oh, I think this is Arondir. Oh no,
really?
This is this is the snow. This is the intro, episode 1.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It could be that the directors asked for human storyboardists. It could be that the directors have choice. Maybe Charlotte wants to use the AI, but still, that's the wrong person to ask to use the AI. You still should have a human artist, a human writer, and a human artist, and let them use the AI as they see fit. But I don't want directors, producers, and studio people saying, can we do AI?
Do you know what? We already have had decades and decades of studio people saying, I know better than you, Mr. Writer-Director. And that has always been the conflict. That's always been the dynamic. Always that weird dynamic where the creatives are struggling with the non-creatives to try to make expensive, financially risky decisions. And you've got to back this up with the fundamental concept that making a movie is expensive. Making a television show like this is certainly expensive. It's a $1 billion thing. So, I understand a lot of the willingness to reduce the risk. Okay? But it is completely wrong-headed. Completely philosophically and creatively wrong-headed to think that AI is going to really, really reduce your risk of failure. If anything, over-reliance on AI from the storytelling point of view is certainly going to provide very, very minimal or diminishing returns. Just like Mr. Simon was saying in the clips that we were showing from his protesting.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So it's a tool, right? But it's not a replacement. And I don't like the idea of, hey, we can hire fewer people.
No.
Augmented by AI. It's like, no, you still need to hire a fully staffed writer's room. And AI is not a replacement for a bench of writers who can think about
Absolutely.
the consider, like mentioning Celeborn in a throwaway comment has implications that the writer needs to consider. And if you have a team of writers, if you have 15 writers like a normal room, then someone would have raised their hand and say, hey, I don't think we should mention that right now, for all of these reasons. Or let me rewrite that dialogue so it's not just a throwaway, but it gives cause. So yeah, see, this guy is not only doing illustration, he's doing Photoshop work, he's doing he's trying out different things and different art things.
This music is bonkers.
Oh my gosh! Look, all of this, all of his scars are all digital.
Digital scars instead of having a prosthetics makeup artist do some scar tissue on him. Come on, wow!
Can't have any spoilers. Again, the mystery boxing of scars on set.
Oh,
mystery
gosh.
boxing. The mystery boxing of the scars.
No more. Good Lord, no more of that. No more of that.
The chat room says, Cliff, you were asking about the music. This is what AI listens to. And maybe Dylan is just an AI. Maybe Dylan is an AI personality. Maybe.
That's actually kind of funny. It's actually funny.
So shout out to Wheat Bix. Again, you can find links to all of this stuff as it's discovered in Discord. This is why I keep telling you guys every week to join our Discord, because there are we have all of the artwork and watercolors and pre-production and these visual effects works. And, every time that anyone finds anything related to the making of Rings of Power, it's in our Discord. So there's some of these wallpapers are more beautiful than the show itself, and they would make a great wallpaper for your computer. So I highly recommend going to jumping on our Discord and just being a part of it. I mean, look, here's the thing with what I talking about cinematography. This is a beautiful painting right here. This is moody. There's a lot going on. You feel that you can smell the mud. You can smell the mud in that road. I don't feel like the cinematography on season 1 is up to this quality. Andrew Lesney would have shot this exactly as you see it. Andrew Lesney would have figured out how to make the frame look exactly like these pre-production works. So,
yeah, he probably would have. Yeah, indeed. But this, wow, this is my first time seeing any of these pre-visual images. These are great. These are really interesting to see some of these.
I mean, even this shot of Galadriel with a look on her face, like a 1,000-yard stare, with a bloody intent. She's already made up her mind. You can tell she's already made up her mind that she's gonna do something crazy. But instead, they edited and played the scene for the mystery boxing. Will she? Won't she? Will she? Won't she? Trisha in the chat room says, this is beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful. It's stunning, So, this is the balance that we have to provide, Cliff, when we talk about AI and rumor mongering and, scaring people with, they're using AI, which is an antithesis of what Tolkien would have wanted. They're not just using AI. They're using AI, but they're not just using AI. These are real humans doing real wonderful artwork. And a lot of these are signatured Pablo D. I mean, this is a Spielbergian shot right here that we never got.
Yeah.
This is a beautifully framed. You get the architecture that is inspired by ancient elves, those kind of arches, you know.
But they're in a shack in the Southlands, dude. They're in a barn in the Southlands. That's not elvish. That's where she's interrogating Adar after his capture.
Right, exactly. But this framing is beautiful. I did not see
the framing is different. Yeah, the framing is different. Yeah.
Like if Amazon wants to improve the ratings of season 2, I want stuff to start looking like this. This gives a mood. This is a mood. That's really... in this second episode, but it's also the same barn. That it's implied that it's the same barn that Galadriel interrogates.
Isn't it Waldreg? Isn't it Waldreg's barn? It is literally Waldreg's barn, where Waldreg has been keeping the piece of the evil sword hilt under the wood boards for who knows how long.
So, leave it to fans to put together, all of this. Again, all of these paintings, like, I wish they would figure out how to just replicate these paintings. That's the one thing about Andrew Lesnie's cinematography. Every frame a painting. Every frame feels magical. Why does Lord of the Rings movies feel more magical than this show? Because every frame feels like magic. These paintings feel like magic.
Well, I saw some great shots in season 1 that were very painterly and were awesome, and I mentioned that in my review of episodes 1 and 2 after seeing the New York premiere. There are some very painterly shots, and sometimes it comes across better than others, but there's some really, really painterly images, and I did enjoy the photography quite a bit. If you want to see more of it, it's not going to look the same because season 2 was shot in United Kingdom, so it's really going to look different. I don't know how far away from season 1, but I know season 2 will really, it'll have to look different because nothing looks like New Zealand. Maybe they'll still use some exterior shots. Maybe season 2 will still have some footage from season 1 that they never used in season 1. And we're talking exteriors, and maybe some big wide shots of the Southern Alps on the South Island of New Zealand, some specific things like that. Oh wow, look at all that stuff you've got right there. Those are other shots from the show.
Yeah. So again, join our Discord because everything cool is there. And
very cool.
We've heard whispers that Bear McCreary and some other people are in there hanging out, and maybe even Morphid herself, Galadriel.
Ooh.
Well, Cliff.
Yes.
We've talked about AI. We've talked about everything, but we have some leaks from this week. Should we go into those real quick?
We should, please. Yes, we should, because the whole conversation about AI and its potential abuse at the expense of creatives is definitely something worth striking for. To do a paraphrase of Samwise's big speech from the Two Towers, there's some good left in the writer's room, and it's definitely worth striking for. Boom. There we go. Now we're on to the next thing.
All right.
Hey, look at that stuff. This is from Fellowship of the Fans, is it not?
No, it's from Reddit. Fellowship of Fans gets all this information from Reddit and then posts it in threads on Twitter, so it's easier accessible. And this is from Yakadoodle, Yakadoodle123 on Reddit. They have been doing all of the drone shots in Bray. And Cliff, do you remember when I was in Bray giving you a report, a video report from Bray?
Yeah, you were there.
I was stood on this spot. Last May, and here we are a year later, and they're still filming. And Cliff, do you remember a few weeks ago when we showed that this statue had fallen to the ground?
Yeah, that's because after the battle in Eregion, the orcs had seemingly destroyed.
So why would the statue be upright in a obviously damaged set. Did did they fix the statue? What's going on there? Why is the statue back?
Because they had to shoot some scenes of it again. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they had to shoot a scene before it was destroyed. No pickups.
Oh, pickups.
But yeah,
that's right.
it was destroyed. But putting it back means that they're picking up and shooting something chronologically different.
And we can confirm that they are doing pickups because this is the set that's next to it. Remember this forest set that we thought was the orc caverns, the orc caves, the orc encampment? They are dismantling that now. So it's in the process of being dismantled, which means filming is done for all the orcs, but filming continues here on the Eregion set. This is the Eregion, which will be destroyed by the end of season 2. Fellowship fans also got a hold of some videos. Obviously, this is a long lens spy video.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Ooh, that.
Oh, that is definitely spy footage.
This is
How
definitely
cool.
spy footage. So they went and did some freeze frames. So it looks like a variety of elves spotted during filming. They're obviously wearing shades of, what is that, mauve? Is that like a light burgundy?
Oh, cool.
See.
Hey, yeah.
There is is that a crew member or an actor? This is that is definitely an actor, an elf with long blonde hair and green tunic. Now we're starting to look like the Legolas archetype. Now we're getting our long hair elves back. This is confirmation that we're getting long hair elves back. We got long hair brunettes and long hair blondes. Eravani says that was dusty pink. And here's an elf with a darker costume spotted.
Okay.
Beautiful long flowing hair. Looks like Amazon did hear everyone in the world's battle cries about short-haired elves. And we are fully getting long-haired elves. Long-haired elves.
Oh, that's so cool.
In
That is
Dusty
so
Rose. Cool. And yes, three elves wearing helmets and hairbands. So, and then on
that was
Discord,
those were my prom colors in high school: silver and dusty rose.
I believe it. And then on our Discord, Cliff, you saw these photos just after we went off the air last week.
That's a catapult war tower.
Trebuchet? Is it a
it's
catapult?
It's a trebuchet. Yeah.
Trebuchet.
Do you know what? In some circles of Dungeons and Dragons gaming and other fantasy games, a trebuchet is interchangeable with other large weapons like a catapult.
Yes. So these are mechanics of war. Why would you have a trebuchet on the edge of a forest? Well, look at all the wood that's required to build it. So this is obviously a staging camp before they go into war. This is probably just before they go to war with Eregion, because Eregion gets destroyed.
Wow. Orcish war machines. Wow.
We've got a dead horse on a cart there.
Those are called. Sometimes those items are referred to as siege engines.
Yes.
A siege engine can be any kind of a device like that, like a war tower filled with soldiers, or a catapult or trebuchet. Yeah, those are engines of siege and war.
So there you go. There's a new orc with a new type of. Look at that weapon that he's holding. Those are eagle talons.
Oh, that's pretty wacky and cool. Look at that.
Those are giant eagle talons, which may support the earlier rumor, Cliff, that you heard exclusively here, that Gwahir has a voice actor, and Gwahir, the King of the Eagles, may be a talking eagle in season 2 Rings of Power, because
I would love that. I would love that. God, I would love it. Because none of the eagles, not a single one of those eagles in The Hobbit were speaking. And I wanted them to speak through all the Hobbit films.
That is
lots
not
of talking
a tooth.
eagles.
Yeah, those are not 2 teeth on a stick. Those are 2 talons.
How cool.
Those
wow.
are giant bird talons.
Hey, nice to see you, Omar, in the YouTube chat. Welcome, good friend from ages ago. He just went to the Hobbit Cafe in Houston. I love that place.
I love that place.
Love that place so much. I'm glad you had a good time.
So look, this I can't stress you guys enough. Like the Discord is where things are happening, and it's a friendly, safe place to have conversations, discussions, debates. There are debates. Haladriel show up and do their thing for Haladriel Reek. Leakers show up and leak some stuff, and we have to delete their posts and say, hey, go post it in the spoilers room. We only put the season 2 spoilers in a hidden room, so you have to request access to the spoiler room. So message any of the mods if you come into Discord and say, hey, I want to know all the leaks and spoilers, because we have a special room just for that. I hope that the showrunners and studio people are not in that room, because they would probably get mad if they knew what we knew. But you could be one of the first. You could be the first on a daily basis to see this stuff. It's so much fun. So look,
cool.
What I'm seeing looks good.
It does. All that orc stuff, all the orcish things, always look good. So bad they're good.
But again, back to the thing. Like, Cliff, we loved what we saw in season 1, but the problem was the writing. So the writers.
So here's the solution.
Striking.
Here's the solution: treat the writers better, so that seasons 3, 4, and 5, are fully staffed with all the writers that are supposed to be there, so that all the developmental stuff they did in season 1 and season 2 can be more intelligently and more carefully brought to fruition. You want to bring these stories all the way to fruition, all the seeds that you're planting. Remember that opening shot where Adar, right before the orc speech, before he talks to his orcs, he's planting seeds, just like, Bronwyn and Arondir were planting seeds. But the fact that the showrunners did all of season 1 and season 2 at the same time, it means that we might not see much of a distinction between what happened in season 1 to the writing, the quality of writing that's going to be in season 2. We might not see too much of an evolution, but that doesn't mean seasons 3, 4, and 5 cannot evolve hardcore.
That's
hardcore.
Right.
They really could.
And
it
our
doesn't
hope
prevent the other from happening.
And our hope is that with this writer's strike, a new deal is struck. Before and that deal requires big tentpole television shows like Rings of Power to have a fully staffed writers room for 20 or 30 weeks, so 6 months. 6 months of writers plus guaranteed writers on set mean that Lord of the Rings becomes a better show and a better written show, and maybe gets to the level of Succession and wins all the Emmy Awards.
And gets to the level of The Sandman and captivates everyone instantly, and they just fall in love with it and are not just like, well, I have quibbles and problems with some of it. Just like, you want hardcore people resonating with it. And Nigel
in the chat room says Adar was the most complex and compelling character. And honestly, that's what I want out of Sauron. I want to know who Sauron is in all his forms. I want to see all of his machinations. I want to see him succeed and fail at all of his schemes. You don't have to make him a sympathetic character. He can just be mean. He can just be the bad guy. But that he doesn't have to be Tony Soprano or Walter White. Sauron is bad. Okay? But that doesn't mean you can't make him compelling. Every character in Succession is bad. Every character in Succession does not deserve your sympathy. There are terrible people in that
Indeed.
show,
Indeed.
but they're well written. That's what I want out of this. I want a well written bad guy. And the Rings of Power is Sauron's story. It's a bunch of bad guys. And, does Sauron have to keep like swatting away other bad guys that are trying to compete for power? Or does everybody fall in line under Sauron? Those are the dynamics that they could start playing with.
That is the dynamics they can start playing with, indeed.
Because they want to win awards, everybody's been doing new interviews, and Benjamin Walker, Gil Galad himself, is getting that bag, getting that cash, doing some promotion for whiskey, but he had a little bit to say on Rings of Power. Let me see if I can find it.
He is so bloody tall and handsome and a great spokesperson for a whiskey brand.
Yes. So Gil Galad, Benjamin Walker says, JD and Patrick, our showrunners, are really hitting the ground running. One of the greatest joys of my job is that I get to read and study Tolkien and get paid for it. And they are covering some ground for season 2.
Okay.
It's very, very exciting. So,
okay. All right.
It's he's excited.
Well, you heard it from the High King of the Noldor. Well, his character survives all the way through to the last alliance of elves and men, which is probably going to be the big climactic end of season 5.
Yeah, Gil Galad has a tiny little. He had such a small role that was cut, but he still got a playing card in the Lord of the Rings collectible movie cards, right? Gil Galad. Yeah. There was an actor.
There was.
So Cliff, Cliff, your final comment on he says they are covering some ground for season 2.
That's because the War of the Elves and Sauron, which is where Celebrimbor meets his tragic end, and everything gets burnt and destroyed in Eregion. Okay, spoilers. But that war lasted for a long time.
Not 8 episodes?
No, if Gil Galad here, if Ben Walker is saying they're covering a lot of ground fast, that might be him indicating way more time compression. Time
compression or a time jump? Would you accept, Cliff, a mid-season time jump like Game of Thrones did, where you went from little Rhaena to adult Rhaena having babies?
Imagine them being under siege for 100 years. And
That's
they
what I'm
cut forward
saying.
in time and say, Eregion, 100 years later, still under siege from Sauron. Imagine
this is how you show the eternalness of elves and the aging of men. What if in the middle of the season of this has me hyped. In the middle of season 2, they start the War of Eregion, and then you get to the end of season 2, and it's a huge time jump, like giant time jump. Would you be okay with that?
Sauron. Okay, I'm looking it up right now, and it says the War of the Elves and Sauron started in the Second Age 1693. It ended in the Second Age 1701. So it was almost a century. It was almost a century long. Seriously.
1693 to 1701 is
I'm
8
mistaken.
years.
I'm mistaken. My math is terrible. It was it was about 8 years. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
well, then that's not a big time compression. I'm okay with them condensing that.
My mistake. Forgive me. It's rare for me to make those kinds of lore mistakes, but occasionally I do, and that was a rare one. We're talking about almost a decade. 8-9 year. Wouldn't that be an interesting time card to say Eregion going from this to a great flaming deteriorated mess, and the screen says 9 years later or 8 years later? Can you imagine?
I tell you what Peter Jackson's movie did well for me is you understood how long Osgiliath had been fighting without having seen any of the battles beforehand.
Yeah.
Like
True.
when we finally get to Osgiliath, you're like, these men are exhausted. They've lost a lot of men. They're fighting the good fight, but like they are getting outmatched before the orcs even cross the river. So, like,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah,
so,
you can. Oh my goodness. Well, they have tricks up their sleeve, and I think Ben Walker is telling us that they're going to move things forward along this timeline quite a bit, and I'm intrigued by that.
Well, I'm
what it's gonna
intrigued
be
that
like.
Rings of Power, we just confirmed today that hit all of the bullet points mandated by Jeff Bezos.
Oh gosh.
Again,
Okay.
Jeff Bezos says, I know how you do this, and you need 13 things. Charismatic protagonist, check. Threatening antagonist, check. World building, check. Cliffhangers, check. Isildur might be dead. Cliffhanger. A love interest, check, check, check. High stakes for society, check. Explosions, check. Big beasts, check. Go. Like, they're just checking off everything as they get through Rings of Power, because that's what makes a big show, and that's what gives them a nice little report card, like we all voted together on. This is the report card,
gosh.
which is a solid
Yep.
B. Room for improvement in writing.
Room for improvement, yes.
Well, that huge show, Cliff. We got so much to talk about.
We did. We certainly covered a lot of context, a lot of interesting context, so that all you folks out there might understand the Writers Guild of America and their strike a lot better. And certainly we are raising the flag of concern about how AI is, let's say, rearing its ugly head in the world of Rings of Power. Still, we do not know how far, we do not know how egregious or how complete the use of AI is on certain elements of the Rings of Power, but it was evidently used for all the storyboards, and maybe a few other things. Oh yeah, Durin, we'll get to that later, okay? Thanks, Durin the 7th, we haven't forgotten. Wow, what an interesting show. Boy, have we got a lot more to keep our eyes on now. We got a lot more things to keep an eye on and
That's
watch
right.
out for.
Love the comments in the
next
chat
week-
room.
Within next week, isn't the Screen Actors Guild going to make its determining vote whether they will strike as well?
That's June 30th is when. There should be a vote in the coming weeks on whether the
Okay.
actors will join the Writers Guild.
Yep, that is going to happen.
So my homework is I need to put up an article on thewondering.net this week with links to all the behind the scenes videos.
Yes.
And maybe we'll ask Wheatbix if we can borrow some of those awesome photos that they've pulled on Discord. And your homework while you're here is to go follow Tea with Tolkien, because she has this wonderful thread that I feel like we should talk about next week.
Yes,
which is the
really wonderful
show's
thread.
choice to play Sauron's prison cell before the statue of Eowyn,
Mhm.
the undaunted wife of Ossé,
Mhm.
who pulled him back from service to Melkor.
Mhm.
So there's a lot. Tea with Tolkien, her theory is that the set itself is doing a lot of work with lore in establishing what the filmmakers intended, even if they didn't execute it well, what the filmmakers may have intended. So go
Tea
with Tolkien.
Tea with Tolkien. She was such a great guest to have her with us as a guest on the show a little while ago. And Caitlin, you're always welcome aboard to come and join us anytime.
That's
Anytime.
right. And follow Matt Nerd of the Rings. He's getting close to 1 million subs on. So make sure you subscribe. Tell your other accounts to subscribe, because we want to get him to 1 million before Comic-Con. And he's going to have an exclusive preview of the Gollum game tomorrow.
Oh, so cool. Very good stuff. And if you want to follow us, we are at the One Ring Net. Just take out the dot of theonering.net and you'll find us, and follow us on all of our socials as well. And definitely join the Discord. Me, Clifford, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at QuickBeam2000. I am definitely intrigued. Before we close, I have to say this, Justin. Imagine how much more powerful Sauron's presence would have been if we had all known that Halbrand was Sauron and that he was staring at a statue of the one who tried to pull him away from service to Morgoth. Out of all the other Valar, and there are Maiar and Valar in those back stories of the First Age. If they didn't have access, it's just the fact that they put that statue in there. But if we had known that guy was Sauron and that he was staring at that statue and then thinking back on his mistakes, on his moral mistakes, on his failure, that would be a conversation about Myron/Sauron that I would have really appreciated. I really would have liked sitting there and watching the show and thinking, wow, this Sauron guy who's in disguise as Halbrand is really having his conscience torn by a work of art that's right in front of him. You know how different that would have been? Anyways, really great theory. Great conversation, Caitlin. So good to see you, with Tolkien. Really good stuff.
I have a feeling, and maybe the showrunners told us this at some point, I have a feeling that the Amazon and the showrunners believe that once you've seen the entire show, you will want to go back and rewatch and catch everything. And that's understandable. So, if you end up enjoying Sauron in later seasons, then you'll go back and you'll catch that little prison cell.
Yeah, but with the 37% completion rate, that didn't happen.
Yeah, but we're talking like long-term, eternally, like after 5 seasons. The problem I have with that is you still have to make something coherent in the here and now so I can enjoy it. And as David Simon said in that video that we just replayed today, you will lose audience. You will continue to lose audience if the show itself isn't up to Tolkien standards every single episode and every single season. Do not count on how we will feel at the end of season 5. I want to feel fulfilled by Tolkien's world right now. So mystery boxing that ruined it. So you gotta be here and now. Be in the here and now. And I feel Tolkien's stories are always written in the here and now. They're written in the present tense. They're here. We go along with the journey. We're along with the journey. That's what I want to be. So
even though it's a history of something that happened in an ancient prehistory of man, it does feel more. Yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. Wow, what a show. What an interesting show we have had. And I want to say, this is my gratitude. Omar, Katie, Monica, Duran, Wheatbix, Garth, everybody. There it is. Show that thing.
I found it. Free League Publishing has put the pre-order up just now. Thanks for the heads up in the chat room, Otaku Senpai. One
Otaku.
Ring expansion, Tales from the Lone Lands. Now, Cliff, this is like a D&D kind of rule book, I understand?
Yeah, for the RPG. Yeah, it's
this
really
is
good
different
stuff.
from like Magic the Gathering game. There are no like playing cards or action figures or board. This is just like playing D&D and imagination, and these are expansion books for a new story, Tales from the Lone Lands, Tales from Eriador, and Ruins of Eriador. So 3 new sets are up for pre-order now at your favorite bookshop, at your favorite gaming RPG store, bookshop. Please buy local if you can.
Super
there
cool.
you go. There you go.
That's a fun game. That's really good stuff. Okay, so here I am at the end of the show, and I want to thank the audience. Just lovely to have you all with us. And you too, Justin. It's kind of lovely to have you along too. It's very nice. Very nice. You guys, what a great great conversation, a great show. You know, don't get an ego about it, dude. All right. And
Blushing.
yeah, it is a really wonderful, faithful audience coming around with us. We're hitting the 2-hour mark almost. And on Torn Tuesday, that is a delightful sign that we have had a really good talk. We had a really good chat with everyone. Thanks for being with us, folks. Until next time, we will have more news and opinion, and maybe a delightful blend of both news and opinion, and more reveals, more mischief that we will have next week, Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on theonering.net. Follow me at QuickBeam2000. Trust me, I've got cat pictures. It's fun. And you guys...
Get on the Discord if you want to be the first to see all the secrets.
Yes.
Secrets.
Yes.
Secrets.
Yeah, you know, Katie, you're so awesome. It's great to have you guys on the show. Please take care of one another. Be gentle and be really conscientious of one another. Things are weird out in the world, so let's be a little bit extra gentle with one another, okay? It'll be awesome. And we'll see you next Tuesday right here at 5 p.m. on theonering.net Torn Tuesday. Until then, I love to say, as closing, good night and good luck, or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.